Hey guys, welcome to my channel, Niki and the Kitchi. I'm Niki, this is my Kitchi. I am back with a brand new recipe right in time for Thanksgiving, which is coming up this week. It's so crazy, I can't believe it's almost the end of November. Shameless plug, I need you guys to follow my food Instagram account. It's called Nourishment, and I will put the handle for that below. Also, don't forget to like this video, comment below, and subscribe because I'm going to be posting new videos several times a month, and I would really appreciate your help and support so we can spread the word about plant-based recipes and vegetarian dishes. So tell your friends and let's get started. I wanted to make something that is a plant-based, kind of Thanksgiving-inspired dish, just to give you some options if you don't eat the traditional food that people make for Thanksgiving. There's usually a lot of dairy, a lot of meat, and since I eat mostly plant-based and vegetarian, with pescatarian sometimes as well, I wanted to make something that could cater to me and could cater to you guys at home. We are going to be making a wild rice, mushroom, and kale casserole. So let that sink in. It's gonna be totally vegan, totally delicious. You can share it with your friends. I'm gonna eat it all by myself this week before I go home for Thanksgiving. Okay, I am starving, so let's go ahead and start this recipe. We will start with the ingredients. We are going to start with some flat leaf kale. I just bought a big bunch of this from the local farmer's market. Next, we've got an assortment of mushrooms. So we've got about 3.5 ounces of oyster mushrooms, about 8 ounces of white button mushrooms, and also 8 ounces of portobello mushrooms, and these are about 3 large portobellos. It's just gonna be on point. Then we've got half a cup of parsley chopped very finely, about 1 cup of cashews. These have been soaked for 30 minutes in some boiling water to really soften the cashews because we're gonna blend these to create our sauce. Then we have about 1.5 cups of very finely chopped shallots, and this was about 5 large shallots that I chopped really tiny like you see here. I cooked 1 1/4 cups of wild rice, and I cooked that with 2.5 cups of vegetable stock, and I also added in about a teaspoon of coconut oil while I was cooking this. 2/3 cup of coconut milk, and this is full fat coconut milk so we can keep our thickness in our sauce. We've got about a tablespoon of lemon juice. I've got about 5 cloves of finely chopped garlic, and about several sprigs of fresh thyme. Then of course we're gonna use some olive oil for this recipe, so just keep it close by because you're just gonna be using it. We're gonna use half a teaspoon of dried oregano, some black pepper. I like to use a lot of pepper, so I'm not really gonna say a certain amount. 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, as always some Himalayan sea salt, and then I've got some panko breadcrumbs to sprinkle on top of our casserole. We're probably going to end up using about half a cup of these. And lastly, about 1/4 of a teaspoon of garlic powder. So we are going to start with the kale. All you do, there's a stem right down the middle. The leaves from the stem. Then you can just chop it into small pieces. All right, so we will add this to our kale mix. Now we are going to chop up our mushrooms. And voila, we are done. So I have about 2 tablespoons of olive oil heating up in my cast iron skillet right behind me. We are about to saute these mushrooms before we add them to the casserole dish. I've preheated this, it's on low to medium heat. We've got some olive oil in it, so let's go ahead and pour in our mushrooms. I'm going to do this in 2 batches because with mushrooms, you don't want to overcrowd them. These have reduced about half in size, and that's when we know it's time to switch them out with the next batch. So our mushrooms have finished cooking, so what we're going to do now is saute our shallots and garlic. I'm just gonna let these saute for about 1 to 2 minutes, and then we're going to add in the garlic. I'm gonna go ahead and sprinkle in our garlic. We're just gonna mix that in as well. Once the garlic and shallots wilted down a little bit, really started to bring out their flavor. I reincorporated our cooked mushrooms back into the skillet to mix with the garlic and the shallots. In the meantime, I wanted to show you guys how we're making our vegan creamy sauce. I've got a Ninja blender right here, and I'm taking my handy dandy personal size cup that I usually make my matcha lattes with every morning, but we are going to use this for our sauce. So we are just going to put in our whole 1 cup of cashews. Then we're gonna add in about 1 tablespoon of the lemon juice. We've got 2/3 of a cup of coconut milk. We are going to add 2 tablespoons of our nutritional yeast. About 1/4 of a teaspoon of powdered garlic. 1/4 of a teaspoon of dried oregano. Probably about 1/2 teaspoon of Himalayan sea salt. I just eyeball it. And then the same with some black pepper. I'm also gonna put a drizzle of olive oil in here, probably the equivalent of 1 tablespoon. So at this point you can open it up, taste it, see how the consistency is. This is a rock solid consistency. So I'm gonna alter this recipe a little bit, and I underestimated the amount of liquid I wanted to put in here. So we're gonna add some veggie stock to give it a little more give so it's not as thick. Okay, so I'm gonna add 1, 2, 3 tablespoons of vegetable stock. We're gonna start with that. I just tasted the sauce. It is perfectly how we want it. This is going to bind everything together in the casserole. So it's important that it's not too thin, but not too thick either. Okay, so as you guys can see, I have already added in the thyme and the parsley, and I'm just gonna mix this around. Now we are ready to add in the kale. This is definitely going to wilt down. We're also going to add in some salt, some more pepper. All right guys, we are ready to assemble our casserole. We have our cooked wild rice, our mushroom, kale, shallot, garlic, parsley, and everything else mixture, and our creamy vegan sauce to go along with that. So I have got a 9-inch round casserole dish. I just preheated my oven to 350 degrees, and we are going to end up cooking this for about 25 minutes. We're just gonna start layering this out. We're gonna start with a nice size blob of our sauce, and I'm just going to spread that around the bottom of our pan. And now I'm gonna go in with a little bit of our mushroom mixture. Let's put a little bit of rice on top. We're gonna add in another layer of sauce. Okay, last step, we are going to top this off with some panko breadcrumbs. Just give it a nice even layer across the top. We are going to cover it with some aluminum foil for about 20 minutes. And for the last 5 minutes, we're gonna let the breadcrumbs brown and get really golden and crispy at the top. We are ready to stick this in the oven. Here we go. This is so good. I can really taste the different mushrooms and the earthiness of it. It literally tastes like it has cheese in it. All right guys, thank you so much for sticking around and watching this recipe. Until we meet again, I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.